तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Om Namo Bhagavate.
Vaivasvataya Mrityave.
Vaivasvataya Mrityave.
Vaivasvataya Mrityave. This shows that there was a 1 month gap. Right? Yeah. Vaivasvataya Mrityave. Vaivasvataya Mrityave. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Om Namo Bhagavate.
Vaivasvataya Mrityave.
Vaivasvataya Mrityave.
Brahma Vidya.
Brahma Vidya.
Acharyaya.
Acharyaya.
Nachiketa Secha.
Nachiketa Secha.
(28) from section 1, Valli 1. Ajiryatam Amritanam Upetya Jiryan Martyaha Kvadhasthav Prajanan Abhidhyayan Varnarati Pramodan Atidirghe Jivite Korameta. Yeah. So we have been witness to Nachiketa's being tested repeatedly by Lord Yama when he asks for spiritual instruction about the nature of I. And so what happens as a result of that? Yama keeps telling him, why do you want to know about what happens after death? Why do you want to know what happens to this body? Why bother all that? Lead a good life, have fun, make friends, and don't ask me this. I will sweeten the deal for you. What will I give you? I'll give you celestial iPad. What did I call it last time? SciPad. Yeah. And I will give you all kinds of wonderful things. And I will give you extraterrestrial things. Free shipping. No shipping charges, no taxes. And how are you going to ship it? Because how is it going to go from one level of existence, one parallel universe to another? Don't worry, I have my ways. I have special courier companies. Indra Courier, that is one courier. They will send it no matter what. Like I said, free express shipping. They will be here, all the heavenly vehicle, the celestial girls, dancing girls, all kinds of things will be there for you. Music, people, everything. You will get a lot of, free downloads of heavenly music. Yeah. Celestial iTunes, you'll get. And so you can have all those things. Just don't press me for this knowledge. That is where we had left this off. And, Nachiketa had given him the most fitting reply. What was the fitting reply? Keep your vehicles, keep your courier, keep your celestial gains to yourself. Keep your dancing girls and singing girls to yourself, because I'm not going to be shaken from the purpose for which I have, come here. And upon seeing you, this was my third wish, and I'm not going to be shaken. And that is where we had left off in the last class. So now, the 28th verse, he says, Ajiryatam. Ajiryatam means what? That which is not subject to any kind of decay. That which is not subject to any kind of decay. Ajiryatam. And upetya, meaning having come close to that, having gained that. Upetya, having gained that. Ajiryatam upetya. Then what? Who will come across Lord Yama? Who is the person who without death will come across Lord Yama? Who will meet Lord Yama without dying? No one. So this is the rarest of occurrences. Ajiryatam means the one who is not subject to death, relatively speaking, the one who is a celestial being. Amritam, Amritam is the one who has got a relative immunity to death. Having encountered such a person, such an exalted person, a rare occurrence of having Yama Darshanam. And like he said in the last verse, he pointed out, where was that? He pointed out very nicely that Tvam Adrakshmaha, we have already, we have already seen you. And after seeing you, some blessings will come because you're an exalted person. You're an exalted entity, and having seen you will net a lot of blessings. Definitely. And so therefore what? So therefore, I don't need to ask for long life. Why do I need to ask for something that I'll already get? You're already getting let's say you're having a job and you're being paid monthly salary, right? And the boss says, okay, you've been doing a good job, what would you like? Oh, please get me my monthly salary. Is anybody going to ask that? No. Because that is already coming. So here, having seen you, all these good boons will come. I know that you cannot lay a finger on me until my time is up. I know that already. At some point, everybody has to go. This body will also go. But that is not my concern. My concern is not with what goes. And you will take care of that. My concern is with what stays, not what goes. What does not go, I want to ask about that. So I don't want to ask about what goes and what comes. We are not interested in that. So he says that Ajiryatam Amritanam Upetya, having gained this, this Ajiryata, and the Ajiryata means that which is not subject to age or decay. Amritanam is the immortals, the celestials. Upetya, having come into close contact with people like yourself, and one more thing, Varna Rati Pramodan Prajanan. He gives two, reasonings. One is having come in close contact with celestials such as yourself, number one. And Varna Rati Pramodan means having gone deeply into the truth of all these kinds of pleasures, sensory pleasures. Varna is color, Rati, that which is pleasing to the senses, Pramodan, objects of pleasure. Having known these objects of pleasure, meaning what? Having known their limitations. Yeah. Knowing that they only carry you so far, they can take away a sadness for a time being, that's it. And then after that, they don't have to do anything. And they're not, they're not capable of giving any happiness at all. And then what, having gained this, then having also known the limitations of all these finite things, then he says, Abhidhyayan means having contemplated upon what? The limitations of varna and rati, the pleasures or the sensory pleasures of the world, worldly pleasures. Having contemplated on the fact that everything is finite, that nothing is going to last, that all things are here to just self-combust after a while. Ati dirghe jivite koramet. Who is going to be satisfied with a long life? Who is going to want to ask a long life when we know that death is going to come anyway? When we know that everything is finite, and having come to a wonderful station, this celestial station, which can be the abode of knowledge, which can be the abode of all kinds of exalted gifts. And why will I settle for some celestial chariots and a long life? And he says, Ati jivite koramet. Koramet means it's a question. What kind of a question? A rhetorical question. Anybody with even who knows the spelling, the first letter of Viveka, which is what? Don't say I don't know. V. V for Viveka if you know. Then also you will not make the mistake of what? Of confusing this for, confusing this kind of an encounter for asking something so limited. Who will do that, he says? Not just me. Nobody will do that. Nobody in their right senses, in their right mind, nobody is going to be settling for a long life when they have the Viveka and when they have the discrimination to ask for what is really something that matters. And so it's not just me. Everybody is going to do that, he says. And furthermore, he wants to put an end to this. So he says, Yasmin, we haven't chanted this. Yasminidam Vichikitsanti Martyaha Yat Samparaye Mahati Bruhi Nastat Yoyam Varo Gudham Anupravishtaha Nanyam Tasmat Nachiketa Vrinite. And he refers to him in the third person. And he says, Nachiketa na vrinite. Nachiketa will not ask for or does not ask for, any other boon. Anyam varam tasmat. Therefore, Nachiketa does not ask for any other boon. Why? Yasmat na idam vichikitsanti mrityaha. Mrityaha means, O death, mrityo, O death, yasmin, about which idam means this question of whether the self goes beyond the body or not, and mahati samparaye means this other world where the self lives, that the self survives death. That whole matter of what happens after death is called samparaya. So here in this matter, everybody is wondering what is going to happen, correct? And so I also am wondering that. And he says, therefore I don't want to settle for any other boon. That specific boon alone I want. Why? Because it is gudham. Gudham means hidden. Anupravishtam means it has gone into hiding. Gudham anupravishtam, it is unraveled with lot of difficulty. Why is it difficult? Because it is you. And one keeps looking for it elsewhere, not within. One keeps looking for it without. That is why it is difficult to unravel. Why? Because there is great resistance to seeing what is within, because one cannot imagine it so easy, it is so simple. And the tendency, as this very Upanishad is going to point out later, is what? Is to look outside for solutions. That is the human tendency. And that is where the whole thing is. And so therefore what? So therefore there is this platitude, this end of all wanting is the only thing to want. That is the platitude that I want to deal with. I don't want to deal with any other thing. Don't try to fob me off with this. And don't try to fob me off with a long life and happy life, etc. because I don't care about that. I know I already have a happy life. So I'm not going to, I only want that which is difficult to attain, because I know you can teach this and I know you have this. So therefore I want this. So he is unswerving. And he has the last word. Why? Because with that this particular section ends. You know. And in the next chapter of the, the next section begins with Lord Yama talking, Lord Yama talks and tells him something, tells him a few things. It's a very wonderful thing. Because with this chapter, the completion of adhikaritvam has been accomplished. What is adhikaritvam? The qualifications of the student has been examined and the student has been deemed worthy of receiving the knowledge. And then the teaching is going to begin shortly. And so Lord Yama then is inspired to talk. And so coming up are some very important verses. Anyachreyaha
Anyashreyaha
Anyadutaiva preyaha
Anyadutaiva preyaha
Te ubhe
Te ubhe
Nanarthe
Nanarte
Purusham sinitaha
Purusham sinitaha
Tayoshreyaha
Tayoshreyaha
Adadanasya sadhu
Adadanasya sadhu
Bhavati hiyate
Bhavati hiyate
Arthat
Arthat
Ya upreyo vrinite.
Yapureyo vrinite.
Lord Yama starts the teaching with a very interesting introduction. He says there are two things in this world. And one of them is called Shreyaha and the other one is called Preyaha. Preyaha comes from Priya, which is pleasant. Shreyaha comes from Shreyas, which means that which is absolutely good for one. So both are good. One is better than the other, that's all. Not that one is bad and one is good. Both are fine in their own places. What? Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means that which is the most exalted, that which is the ultimate, that which is also called Param. Param means what? Ultimate. Brahma vida apnoti param. That Param. The absolute, beyond which there is nothing else to gain. So there are two things which the whole world is after. What are they? Preyas, the relative good, and then Shreyas, the absolute. That which is absolutely good, that which is universally exalted, that which is, and the relative good is what is that? Called Preyas. And that depends on one's own likes and dislikes. Somebody likes, chocolate ice cream, another person, for that person who is allergic to chocolate, then strawberry ice cream is their prayers, correct? Mm-hmm. Somebody likes to go for holiday on the beach, that is their prayers for them. Some other people like to go and climb a hilltop, even in the holiday they like an uphill challenge. That is prayers for them. And so, like this, the prayers varies from individual to individual, from community to community, from time to time. Because in the olden days, there were certain things that were considered prayers, right? And now those things are all out of fashion, and now new prayers items have come into the market. So the prayers is relative good, depending on person, place, time. It's okay now? This is coming back. That's going? This is good. Okay. One down, one up, another one to go. The pursuit we are back. There was a slight, what is it called?
Technical difficulty.
That's very well put. I was going to say electronic hiccup. Technical difficulty is more polite. I like that. Shreyas and prayers. This is prayers, okay? Yeah. Just to illustrate. So these are the two things that one is constantly choosing between, really. And one is kind of also driven, or what's the word for it, that there is a natural inclination for Shreyas. Shreyas means that knowing which, or being which, understanding which, there is no more seeking. Because the prayers seeking, the prayers kind of seeking. When I seek prayers, there is always a pressure. It's not a natural seeking. There is a feeling of being forced, or somehow there's a constriction. The natural tendency is to not seek at all. The natural tendency is to resolve the seeking. That is really the natural tendency of all people. But what is happening here? Not knowing this, that actually there is no two things, Shreyas and prayers, there is only one thing. What is that one thing? Shreyas. There are no two pursuits, there is only one pursuit. And if I don't know that what I want is the absolute, then what happens? I choose the relative. The relative resolves in the absolute does not resolve in the relative. That is the whole idea. Okay? So there is a big discussion about this, but for now we'll just move on with the verse. And so what Lord Yama says is Shreyas and prayers, there are two things. Anyaha, anya utaiva means both of them are completely different from one another. In other words, you cannot have a little bit of Shreyas and a little bit of prayers. No. It's either or. You cannot have both at the same time. One has to take precedence and the other one has to subserve. Why? Because they are completely different pursuits. One entangles you more in samsara, the other one relieves you from sorrow. One, there is a pressure in pursuing, the other one liberates. One binds, the other liberates. One, there are so many, in the first one, in prayers, there are so many choices, so little time. In Shreyas, it's a choiceless choice. Prayers is pursuing things outside of myself. Shreyas is pursuing my own nature, understanding, gaining a deeper understanding into my own nature. That is what? Shreyas. So you see how different they are. They are not only different, they are incompatible to be pursued at the same time with the same vigor by the same person. They are incompatible. In fact, the more I am interested in prayers, the less time I will have and the less interest I will have in Shreyas. This is how they are diametrically opposed to one another, and they cannot be pursued at the same time by the same person. And then the second line, te ubhe nanarthe purusham sinitaha. Sinitaha means badhnitaha. They bind purusham, the person. Nanarthe means in two different ways. What do you mean they bind the person? Prayas binds. We already know that, correct? The pursuit of prayas binds. Why? Because the more I seek, the more I am left unfulfilled, and the more I am left unfulfilled, the more I seek. So that itself is a vicious bondage. There is a vicious cycle that is going on happening. Right? So, prayas binds. But then he says Shreyas also binds. How does Shreyas bind? I thought Shreyas frees and prayas binds. But here, Lord Yama is saying Shreyas also binds the person, prayas also binds the person. How? Because the sum total of all of the human pursuits are divided into Shreyas and prayas. So if I am not pursuing prayas, what am I pursuing? I am bound to pursue Shreyas. So in that sense I am bound. Yeah. Not really bound. Not bound by Shreyas. I am cleared enough to commit to Shreyas. I have cleared the deck to make some space. I am bound to pursue Shreyas because if prayas is not in the way, that's what will be there for me. So it's a choiceless, moksha is a choiceless choice. What is moksha? My own nature. That I am free from being a hunter, an experienced hunter, really. Some kind of a, bounty hunter. There are these people. And here there is the bounty is myself. And the truth of myself, which is infinite and whole, that is what is sought, and that is non-separate from the seeker. So, the te ubhe nanarthe purusham sinitaha. And then he says, tayoho, from the two, in between the two, shreyaha adadanasya. Adadanasya means for the one who chooses sadhu. The one who chooses Shreyas is the one who chooses something auspicious. Because I told you it cannot be pursued at the same time by the same person with equal vigor. So the one who prioritizes Shreyas in his or her life is indeed exalted, has made the correct decision. Sadhu means the correct decision. Sadhu means good. So the correct decision, Shivam, the most auspicious decision, Shobhanam, the best exalted decision, whereas, Hiyate, Sadhu Bhavati, one of them, and the other one, Ya'u Preyaha Vrinite. Ya'u, on the other hand, the one who, Preyaha Vrinite, searches for or chooses prayas, what happens? Hiyate. Hiyate means slips away. Slips away from what? Falls off. From what? Arthat. Falls off from the goal. Yeah. From the end, from the true end, one falls off. So there is a crossroads. There are two roads there. One is standing at the crossroad. One road is lined with flowers, little food stands, canteens, kiosks, lot of fanfare, people selling things. And the other one is what? The other one is bare. The first one has a lot of people going on it. It's like a carnival. People have balloons. They are all dressed up in bright colors. They are buying things from, it's like a fair, like a mela. Mela means fair. So they go and they are buying things from all the stands. You can see down the path. Lot of color, vigor. Sounds like a fish market. People are, loudly talking. And the other one is a quiet place. Hardly anybody. No fanfare. A few people in orange quietly moving once in a while. And then one is asked to choose between the two paths. What are the guesses that most people will choose the first one? Naturally. Somehow, one finds a strength in numbers. Yeah. So as long as there are a lot of people on this one path, what happens?
Everybody goes.
Everybody feels comfortable. Yeah. As long as there is, the path is full of people, I feel extremely happy to go on the path because there is safety in numbers. And why is that the case? Because one is not confident of one's choices, really. One looks to others for approval because one is the jiva, the one who is ignorant of oneself. So the one who is ignorant of oneself is what? Is feeling inadequate of the smallest things, including life's choices. So one is always looking to somebody else for confirmation. Did I do, like a small child? Small child will do something, like for the first time, like tying its shoes, jumping off a table, whatever it is, and then it looks at the adults. Look at me! See? Did I do good? It runs a race for the first time, enters a competition and looks for the parent, looks for the caregiver and says, what do you think? And it's okay for the small child to do that. But then even at 50, the inner child is still 5. Yeah. You can cut out that 0. Sometimes, in this computer language, to distinguish between O and 0, that 0 has a little cut. So like that, you can cut out the 0 and leave only 5. The jiva, meaning the one who is not emotionally mature, the one who doesn't have the exposure to this knowledge, keeps looking for approval. That is the problem. Keeps looking for approval. Did I do good? Did I do okay? Am I a good boy, good girl? You're neither a girl nor a boy. You're a man or a woman. No. That childlike presence is still not gone until the knowledge of oneself as completely acceptable and adequate is internalized. So therefore, because of this inadequacy and because of looking to other people for confirmation, I make the wrong choice at the crossroads as well. This is how the crossroads, the wrong thing is chosen. Because they appear to be having a good time, and because there are wonderful things that I can see, that I think I want, and because there are lots of people there, I think, what do I think? Since so many people have gone there, how can they all be wrong? So therefore, I find the safety in numbers. So this seeking person finds the safety in numbers and goes down that path. But the majority need not always be correct. In the medieval ages, the majority of the people thought that the earth was flat, like a pancake. and that if you walked to the edge, if you went a little too far away from your hometown, you would find the end of the earth and fall off into some kind of a big abyss. That's what most people thought. Ptolemy came and said, no. Ptolemy was one of the astrologers, and he said, no, I have made some calculations, and the earth, first of all, is not flat, it is round, and secondly, it is not just stationary and the sun is going around the earth, it's the other way round. He was the only one, and we all know what happened to him, correct? Yeah, he was burnt at stake. Yeah, it was just, people thought first they thought he was mad, and then because he was going against the Bible or something, whatever it was going against the religious whatever modes of the time, he was, done away with. But the majority was wrong. Later Galileo confirmed what he knew, what he had said, and later all the people confirmed. So this is something that is, we have to get our mindset away from if we are serious about this teaching, is that nobody else is studying the Vedanta, so why should I study? You see where I'm getting at. Yeah. Nobody else is interested. Yeah. Whereas if you have a big rally, like that is happening somewhere now, where? Charlotte. Yeah, big rally is happening, and it's all about electing the next leader. And then another group had its rally previous week. This group is having it this week. And there you will find all the people. Because they are all, there is something happening. There is it's like a carnival. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody wants to go there for something, and some people don't want to be there. And then they still go there. Why? Because they want to go there and protest. That is another thing. They are going there to protest. And the sad thing that happened today or yesterday, I forget, and there was all these protest of undocumented workers, okay? And unfortunately, they held up a placard that said, I am an undocumented worker. And they were all arrested. Very sad. Yeah. This is what it is. Why did they do that? I don't know. And maybe everybody holding that placard was not undocumented. That also we don't know. That's also possible. But then, this is what it is. Even if the people who don't want to be there feel so strongly that they go there. You see? So those are the kinds of things that revs up the people, because it is divisive. Any kind of division revs up the people, because what is divisive is duality. Correct? And so that revs up the people. And then the other thing that really revs up the people is action. And these conventions promise action. Each one has a platform, there is lots of things to do, people are wanting to win their own elections, and they are all coming and talking. They have, booths, they have, whatever, promises and things that they want to make into law. They have an agenda. So any agenda really in the relative world is prayers. Now again, prayers, it doesn't mean bad. It is relatively good to have agenda. It's absolutely good to make oneself the agenda, the ultimate agenda. Yeah. Because in this relative agenda, the absolute gets lost. Whereas if you choose the absolute agenda, which is to drop all agenda, then what happens? The relative is included in it. The relative becomes a source of enjoyment, perhaps employment, perhaps both. But there is no pressure in going after just the relative, just like there is when you go just after that relative. So prayas creates divisions. So the prayas is characterized by divisions, duality, and doing. 3D. Prayas is 3D. Yeah. Deeply divided, enforcing dualities or multiplicities, and then what? It's full of doing. It's for doers. And one cannot sit still. Try sitting still, no music on, no television on, no TV on, no talking on the telephone, nothing. No iPhone, nothing. Sit still. What will happen? Immediately thoughts will come. Let me just run around in place 5-6 times, then I'll sit down. It's very difficult to have a contemplative life. And so therefore one is attracted to doing, because all that restless energy one has to work off, and that is part of the personal growth. Perhaps for some time one has to pursue prayers in order to qualify for Shreyas. But once one understands the difference between the two, there is no choice except to go for the absolute, because the relative leaves me relatively incomplete, relatively complaining, relatively inadequate. So therefore I need to understand the source of this I, which is not dependent on doership, which is not a doer, which is has nothing to do with pressure and action and getting some result. I am already free. I am not bound. I don't have to do anything to be unbound. This is the teaching. And this is a cognitive pursuit, Shreyas, because I have to know that I am already free. I don't have to stop doing, but I have to call the bluff on doing, because the doing is really my undoing. Yeah. Because there is a reason why we were named human beings, not human doings. Right? Yeah. So this is the art of being. This is the art of knowing that I am a total and a whole being without needing to do. That doesn't mean one is allergic to action, but one crosses out action as a path to knowledge, because action and knowledge are like oil and water, they do not mix. So if I'm suffering from self-ignorance, action is not going to help except as an auxiliary at best, an auxiliary helping mode to help me to qualify for gaining this teaching. Action is not going to yield knowledge. So this is what is called sadhana sadhya sambandha. SSS. Sadhana sadhya sambandha. What is this sadhana sadhya? Sadhana means the means. Sadhya, the goal. Sambandha, relationship. So I have to be very clear on the relationship between the ends and the means. And we have talked about this before. But that was a long time ago. And so therefore what? If I want to go to San Francisco, I have to catch the correct plane, correct? Yeah. Or train or bus, whatever it is. So if I catch the wrong plane, why? Because everybody else was going and sitting in that plane, so I also went and sat in that plane. Thinking lot of people are going to San Francisco, why not me? And then where did it end up? New York. Then I say, why this is happening to me? Why I have such a karma that each time I try to go to San Francisco, I end up in the East Coast? The problem is not with karma as a result of action. The problem is with the action itself. I cannot blame the result when the action itself is not properly thought out, and the means and ends are like ships passing in the night. They don't connect. The means have to be connected to the ends. And this is the main thing that one has to understand. And so many times I've told you this example from my own life. When I travel, I have to, catch these tiny planes because I go to small places. These 12-seaters, 15-seaters, 20-seaters. And they don't have their own vestibule leading to them. They have small, you have to climb down, go outside, and, leave your bag. Now, if you're traveling anything with other than anything except a hanky, you have to leave it outside because it's such a tiny plane. And then sometimes even they say that, you are too heavy for it. We are not able to carry you, so the last person, please get down. They do that also. Yeah. They do all kinds of things these days. So, this is the kind of plane I'm talking about. That has to be weighed before it flies, and they have to, weigh the air volume and everything, and then decide what to do. And so here, when I went and sat down, so many times it has happened. The flight attendant will say, this flight is going to Valdosta, Georgia. We are in Atlanta. If you are not headed for Valdosta, Georgia, please get off. And 2-3 people have got off right in front of me. Because there are so many planes standing, and then there is sometimes not the, they have shortage of people directing you to the correct aircraft. And then you end up in the wrong aircraft. So supposing that announcement had not been made, these people would wonder how they ended up in Valdosta, Georgia when they were going I don't know where else. Perhaps they were going to Detroit, but then they ended up even further south than north. And therefore what? So therefore this means and ends have to match. I should know what I want, and if I want to know that I am already a non-seeker, then can I know that by seeking more? No. The only thing to seek is to seek to know. Seeking to know is called Shreyas. Knowing how to seek is called Preyas. The know-how of seeking is Preyas. Seeking to know is Shreyas. When I seek to know, then I remain if I keep looking for how to seek, let's take Preyas first, then I become an infinite seeker. And then if I seek to know, I become the seeker of the infinite. There's a big difference between being an infinite seeker and being a seeker of the infinite. A seeker of the infinite is one whose quest is finite. I will finish the quest because I'm seeking the infinite. The infinite happens to be myself and is revealed through the teachings. So the infinite is ultimate, and that ultimate is that which is myself, and that self-revealing I, which is communicable, which is teachable, which is alone what I want, what I am. And then what? And the other one is an infinite seeker, seeking, constantly seeking. So the object of seeking must be infinite. Not the seeking must be infinite. If the seeking is infinite, one is very frustrated. If one is infinitely seeking, one is not happy. Because I want a fulfillment of that quest. So these are the two things that drive the person in the world, Shreyas and Preyas. And people choose Preyas because of certain reasons. The primary reason is what? Ignorance. I don't know. I don't know what to do. And the secondary reasons are the following: because all that glitters is attractive and calls, and people are used to. It's like a dysfunctional family. Dysfunctional family reunion when holiday time, when else. So then you ask a person, why do you keep going year after year? If it's so dysfunctional, and if each time there is some trauma, each time there is drama, and each time there is, panorama, why do you keep going? Because it is familiar. Because it's the only thing I know. I don't know anything else. So too Preyas is, making a pact with Preyas is like, a dysfunctional family life or a dysfunctional marriage. You keep going and going and going because there's nothing else to do. What else there is? You feel stuck in that rut. So Preyas rut is like that. So the primary reason is ignorance, why people choose Preyas. Second reason is because the other is not familiar, this is familiar, and even though it is painful, there might be occasional and accidental good moments in a bad family, affair. Yeah. Horrible, holiday. But then the children were cute, perhaps. So that brought a smile. Horrible holiday, but the food was decent. Horrible wedding, but there were some nice places to visit. because the place where they had the wedding had lots of nice areas to go out and see. So that those occasional little spurts of joy or happiness which one mistakenly connects to the object rather than the subject is the reason why the preyas addiction is very difficult to drop. Number 2. Or actually that is number 3. Number 2, because it's familiar. Number 3, it is addictive. Because like the dog who chews the dry bone, which scratches its gums and causes them to bleed, and the dog slurps up the blood thinking it is coming from the bone, whereas it is coming from itself. Similarly, that quote-unquote juice or the essence of happiness, which is one's own essence, one attributes to the outside object which one is pursuing. This is why there is addiction to prayers. And number 4, the 4th reason why people keep going after prayers is, like I said, the self-inadequacy as a result of what? As a result of ignorance, which is why one seeks safety in approval and numbers. Numbers are everything. That's how there's all these number crunching in all these, even in the elections, everything, numbers are everything. Doesn't matter if it's a bad idea, but most of the country is backing it up. Doesn't matter if it's a horrible idea, but everybody agrees. So therefore it must be good. This is a backward thinking. So these are the reasons why prayers appears to be attractive, and also prayers being time bound, like new things come, in the, like a buffet dinner, new things keep coming. You finish one dish, another one comes. And Shreyas looks the same old path, no external, fanfare, no flags, no balloons, no confetti, no, big announcements, no entry prizes, no lottery draws. It's just a long drawn affair, or so it seems from the point of view of the crossroads. So these are the reasons, and also because prayers seems to glitter very, very much. One has a misstep and falls off the wagon, meaning when you don't choose the absolute, one gets caught up in the relative. That is what happens. If you think of the relative as absolute, one is absolutely sad, because the relative ends. Yeah. And the search for the absolute continues, but I'm looking for it in the wrong place. Like I have told you, the grandma who lost her sewing needle, where, back in her hut. But then she started to look for it in the village square. And everybody gathered and started to help her. And then suddenly one young man asked, "Where did you lose it?" And she said, "Back in my hut, 2 blocks inside the village." Why are we looking at it here? Because the only street light is in the middle of the square. Like that, one makes the wrong choice. One makes the wrong choice because of this ignorance alone. And so when I fall off that, then I keep seeking endlessly, like I'm looking for the needle in the wrong place. And so I'm looking for the absolute in the wrong place. And then what happens? I don't find it. And the seeker in me is not satisfied. An unsatisfied seeker is called jiva, shrouded in ignorance, making wrong decisions. And that is the person hiyate, means falls off the rail which leads to the goal of the absolute. Falls off that rail. Gets derailed from the pursuit. More we will see next time, next week, same time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. I'll take questions. Any questions? Okay.